What's going on, everyone? This is Dr. Brent Pritt, episode number 3 of the Fall Breakdown. In this one, we got quite a few number of videos, but there's clusters of videos that are kind of showing a very similar situation, and that's why I wanted to bring more videos to show how a certain type of brain injury or how we get away from pain can present itself in different ways that also can lead to different types of falls. So let's get into it. Let's break these falls down. So we're gonna be looking at 2 different videos that show something I like to call the withdrawal response. So think of it this way. When you have some sort of painful stimulus or you get injured in some way, you try to get away from that pain as fast as possible. Think about touching a hot stove and then instantly taking your hand away, right? It's called the withdrawal response. That response can lead to a fall because your body immediately wants to get away from whatever's causing pain right now. It doesn't necessarily think about what can happen afterwards, right? So there's gonna be 2 videos. We have a weightlifter dropping a weight on his ankle, and then we have a skateboarder having something happen to him called a credit card, where the board goes up his privates, and it's not very fun to feel that. I've done it myself, not fun at all. But watch the response to both these initial painful stimuli, okay? Here, his ankle gets flipped over and he goes away from the weight that hit him. Here, as the board hits him, he jumps forwards, trying to get away from that weight, trying to get his hips and everything up higher than the board to jump away. Now, as you can see, that leads to a secondary fall and injury in both these cases. Now, you can't really do much to prevent that other than avoiding that initial injury, because once the brain is trying to get you away from that pain, it's a reflex. And just like when the doctor hits your tendon in your knee and you kick out, you can't stop that. It's a way that the body gets around the brain having to protect you so that whatever needs to happen happens faster. So this is the withdrawal response, and this happens quite a bit with an initial pain that leads to other things happening, such as a secondary fall. And sometimes that secondary fall can cause more damage than the initial injury would have. All right, now we're gonna be looking at a series of 3 different videos. And what I want you to look at when you're watching these is the person's head and then what their arms are doing. I'm just gonna let you watch the videos first, and then I'm gonna tell you what's actually happening. Now, if you're a little bit squeamish, if you don't like people getting their head hit, I wouldn't watch this part. Fast forward. The last fall is a kind of a palate cleanser after this one. But there's no blood or anything. It's just kind of hard to watch because these are real injuries happening to people in real time. Pretty tough to watch these, right? I mean, all these people, what you're seeing with these arm postures and their head hits are spinal cord and brain injuries. These people are getting very bad levels of concussion, not something you're walking away from. These people probably all went to the hospital. And when you see somebody hit their head, even with a helmet, the impact is gonna make their brain slosh around. So you see those arms going out? It's called posturing. So there's 2 types, decerebate and decorticate, and it's kind of helps a doctor figure out what's going on. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but depending if their arms go out or in, tells you something different. So I believe the first video and this video, this football video, show the arms going outwards, and the second video with the snowboarder, his arms come inwards towards his body. And what that's showing you is that this is not a small injury. These people are severely injured from these falls. They need medical attention immediately. So if you ever see someone like this and those arms start going up and they can't get them down, they're not holding themselves there to prevent pain. They're knocked out. They're not present with you at all. They are having a brain emergency. There's severe damage. You need to get them to a medical center or a EMT or something immediately. And then you better hope for the best, because this could be life-altering and life changing for many of these people having these injuries. All right, so that last trio of videos was a little bit rough, pretty intense, really serious. This one's a little more funny. So this gentleman, in the audio you can hear it, but I don't include the audio in these videos. He's been drinking a little bit. He's a little bit tipsy, and that's going to reduce your, well, just watch. It's gonna reduce a couple things you're working with for the better and for the worse. So let's see. So as I'm kind of putting in, I forgot I put some taglines down there as people are watching this. He is very loose, right? And so when he falls, he's not really fighting it. He's just kind of going with it. So he kind of ragdolls in a way. Now, if you read the lines in there, I said something about your bowels being a little bit loose. He did have a little bit of a fart there at the end in the original video. So he starts laughing. You can see him smirk right there because it's kind of a funny situation. But this is the beauty and non-beauty of being intoxicated, is that you can't really control your motions very well. That's why he tripped on that box. You see, it kind of took him a second to actually trip. He just didn't even know what was going on. And then when he went, he kind of just went with it. I don't think he was doing that on purpose. I think he just didn't know what was going on. His reaction time was so slow. He just slowly drifted down. He's lucky there wasn't something more dangerous behind him. But most likely this guy walked away with zero injury because he was just so loose. And that is a beauty of being intoxicated, is that usually when you fall, you're going to come over with some scrapes and bumps and whatnot, but you're not going to have any broken bones. Someone who had this type of fall with that door behind them, who wasn't intoxicated, may have tried to save themselves in a way that wouldn't have been safe. They would have tried to fight the fall instead of going with the momentum and then trying to turn or do something that actually may have ended up with them with their head into that glass window right there, or hitting the wall hard, or turning and then hitting their hip or their shoulder in a way that breaks something. So sometimes being intoxicated helps the situation out. Oftentimes it just makes a funny situation, and then you might laugh about it at a later date. All right, everybody, I hope that fall breakdown episode number 3 was informative. It had a couple of intense videos. That posturing with the brain injuries is very serious. I've seen it when I used to skateboard. I saw maybe 1 or 2 people do it, and some young kids, they ended up in the hospital for at least a couple weeks, and oftentimes they needed some rehab afterwards because now they have a brain injury. Let's say in layman's terms, similar to something like a stroke or something like that, where part of their body or their brain doesn't work properly now because of the massive amount of injury. We also saw that gentleman drinking a little bit, having a nice easy fall, because when you drink, you ragdoll, you go down, right? You go down easily. And then the first video, the withdrawal response with the weightlifter and also the skateboarder. When there's an initial injury, your body just wants to get away from pain. It doesn't care how, it doesn't care where or know where, but if the pain is coming this way, you're going that way. You're gonna get away from it. Now, oftentimes there's probably a safer way to get away from the pain if your brain could think about it, but it is an automatic reflex. It literally has no conscious control. It just happens. You touch the hot stove, your hand comes away. You don't think about it, right? So thank you for watching. Hopefully you're learning something from the fall breakdown. If you have any suggestions, you have any videos, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to make these series better and also more personal with your own videos. So I appreciate you, and see you in the next one.